They deliberately did this to hide from the profane people the powers that are in the inner consciousness, because they didn't want literal people getting a hold of these mysteries and using them for their own good. I mean, do you want to spend your life going and listening to preachers? Do you want to spend your life reading the Bible, half of which you can't relate to anyhow, 3/4 of which you can't relate to? Or do you want to now spend your life being a participant in God's universe and touching Him within you? That's the difference. The book of Revelation is about your body. The two witnesses that are spoken of in the book of Revelation are the pineal gland in your brain and the pituitary gland, the master gland in your brain. Did you know that? And that all of the fighting that goes on and all of the different nations and the rivers and the seas all deal with your endocrine system of your body and that which is the upheaval in your body. And God, through revelation in the hidden mysteries of the East, is giving you directions on how you can put all of this together and how you can get your body and your mind in harmony. The Bible was not written by people from Pittsburgh. The Bible was written by the ancient Eastern people, and they knew numerology. They dwelled in the numbers of the zodiac. They dwelled in all various numbers that had meanings. Let me give you a quick rundown so you get an idea what I'm talking about. Hidden meanings. The number 1 means God, the Logos. The number 2 means body and soul, you and God. The number 3 means new life, resurrection, a new beginning. Jesus was in the tomb 3 days. Jonah was in the whale 3 days. The number 4 means your fourfold nature: physical, spiritual, intellectual, emotional. Okay? The number 5 means mediation. It also means sacrifice. I'm going to show you that a little later. The number 6 means doctrines, laws, religion. Number 7 means divine intervention. Joshua walked around Jericho how many times? 7. And the walls came tumbling down. 7 means divine intervention. There are 7 nerve centers, or 7 chakras that rise from the base of the spine to the top, which are the 7 levels which a person walks in order to find that which is the pineal or enlightenment. It's all part of the Bible. It's all part of the ancient wisdom, which is covered up in Numbers. Number 8 means rupture, separation. Number 9 means the human consciousness. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Number 10 means completion. And the number of perfection in Hebrew is 12, which corresponds to the most ancient zodiac. Let's take a look at the number 9. The numerical value to the word Adam in Hebrew in the ancient scriptures is 9. Everything had a numerical value, and that's why there is such mystery in the ancient scriptures, because they used numbers to deceive people who tried to think intellectually. The number 9 means Adam. Adam means earth. The earth means your flesh, your mind, your emotions, the ego, the macho, the I will do what I think, and all this kind of business, okay? So when you use that number 9, it starts to reveal a lot of things to you. If you look in the Bible, you'll see many references to 3.5 or 42 months, 3.5 years, 42 months. That all comes out to 9. Let me show you how. You'll see it as 42 months. You'll see it as 3.5 years. You'll see it as 1,260 days, because 3.5 years is 6 months. Okay, is 3 years and 6 months. That's 42 months. You take 42 times 30, you get 1,260. Okay, now when you add 1, 2, and 6, you get 9. That's the number of human consciousness. That's the Bible's way of hiding from the literal and the intellectual, spiritual, significant, deep mysteries that come out of the times of Egypt and Chaldea. They deliberately did this to hide from the profane people the powers that are in the inner consciousness, because they didn't want literal people getting a hold of these mysteries and using them for their own good or to raise money the way these evangelists and TV people do. Okay, this isn't for that. This should not cost you a dime. I'll give you a symbol. Tithing. How much money are these people made taking 10% out of your pocket? Tithing has nothing whatsoever to do with money. It's symbolic. It's a hidden myth. And what it means is you have 10% of you that is the carnal mind. 10% of you is the left side, it is the negative side, it is the carnal mind. 90% of you is the right hemisphere, which is dormant. God is saying to you, give me that 10%. Give me your ego. Give me your flesh. Give me your will. Through meditation, shut off the thoughts of the mind. You shut off the 10%, which is you. You turn on the right hemisphere, which is the 90%, which is him. You have tithed. Now, let's look at the number 9. Like I said, we were going to look at the number 9. 3.5 months, 3.5 years, 42 months, they all equate to 1,260 days. If you look through the book of Revelation, you'll see all kinds of references to 3.5, 42, 1,260. They all add up to 9. So now when you have that key, that the number 9 means human consciousness, you can solve some riddles. You can solve the identity of the beast. Who is the beast? 666. Okay? Who is 666? This is the way you have to do it if you understand Eastern mysticism that wrote that. You take 6 plus 6 equals 12 plus 6 equals 18. Now you have 1, 8, 1 plus 8 equals 9. The identity of the beast is you and me, our lower carnal mind. It's the beast that rapes. It's the beast that makes wars. All of these horrible things that you read about every day in your newspaper and see every day on your television. And we can look at the beast by going into our bathroom, turning on the light, and there's a picture of the beast right over your sink. It is your lower mind. It is that part of you that threatens you, that part of you that convinces you you're not going to make it past tomorrow, that part of you that says, well, everything's okay now, but what are you going to do if, and what are you going to say when you meet so-and-so next week, and all of this stuff that keeps you rattling and shaking and all of those things within you going nuts. That's the beast. That's hell. What about those who are saved? What about those who are going to heaven? In Revelation 14, it says 144,000. That means an endless number of saved. But look at the number, 144. 1 plus 4 equals 5 plus 4 equals what? 9. 9 means consciousness. The beast is the lower consciousness. Those who are saved are the higher consciousness, the upper room, the mountain experience, meditation. When you lift yourself up above, you come into being that 144 or consciousness in the higher realm. So 9 then means consciousness, and it shows either on the lower level, which is the devil or hell of the carnal mind, on the higher level, which is the divine mind. There's an interesting way you can see how the Bible specifically shoves this in, so you know it's a tip-off from the ancient people that this is talking about consciousness. Jesus says to the fellows in the boat, look, if you want to catch fish, cast your net over to the right side of the boat, okay? What Jesus is talking about is not fish. Fish means wisdom. He's not talking about the right side of the boat. He's talking about directing your energy to the right hemisphere of the mind. You do that by turning off the left side in meditation. Now, how do we know? Now that we know that the number 9 means consciousness, how do we know that Jesus is talking about consciousness and not fish? You'll see there in that scripture when Jesus says, cast your net to the right side, you'll see how many fish they caught. They caught 153 fish. Okay? 1 plus 5 plus 3 equals 9. 9 means consciousness. Therefore, Jesus is definitely saying, if you want to be filled with God's wisdom, if you want to be filled with God's understanding, if you want to be filled with God's knowledge of this universe and your place in it, then direct your energies to the right hemisphere. And Jesus told you how to do that by taking no thought. You must meditate. You must allow your eye to be single. You focus that energy right between your eyes and your forehead, and you focus energy there, and you bring yourself above all of those thoughts which are trying to destroy you. You bring yourself up into the bliss of the heaven which is within you, and then you fill with wisdom, you fill with understanding, and you start to activate the right hemisphere of your brain which has been dormant all of your life. Look, you see the same thing in the sky. You see the same thing in nature. The sun right now, as we're sitting talking, the sun in the northern hemisphere is sitting at the right hand. It is sitting in the eastern sky. And what happens when it sits in the eastern, or it sits in the right hand? It brings to life all that was dormant during the winter. It's symbolic too. Paul says the unseen things of God should be made manifest by the things that you can see. In other words, when the sun in the heavens sits at the right hand of power in the eastern sky in the northern hemisphere, summer comes. Everything which was dormant during the winter is gone. Now there are flowers, now there is color, now there is new life. This is what it means. When the Son of Man, the desires of the flesh, the solar plexus is raised to the pineal, the light is at its highest, the power sits at the right hemisphere of the brain, okay? And that then brings to life all that was been dormant in your life during the winter of your soul. Doesn't it make sense? This is what it's about. This is what the hidden meanings of the Bible are about. Everything that is out is in. It is all within you and at your hands to activate it and call it into active participation in your life now. And it's never too late. If you're 8 or if you're 98, it doesn't make any difference, because once you raise your consciousness above the thoughts of the mind, there is no age. Lucifer was never a person, was never intended to be a person, was never anybody by the name Lucifer. Lucifer means bright star. Okay? And the reason the name is given Lucifer, the star, and the reason the star, because it has 5 points. Sight, taste, touch, smell, hearing. Bright star. That means when your senses, your ego, are under control of the higher realm of God, then Lucifer. That means everything is under God's control. Fine. But when that star falls, remember Jesus said, I saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning, the falling star. That means the 5 senses are now under the control of the ego. Sight, taste, touch, smell, and hearing are under your control. And then we got the problems with sex, we got the problems with drugs, we got the problems with booze, we got the problems with our mouth, we got the problems with gossip, we got the problems with the things we see, we got all the problems with the things that we do. We are now in hell. Satan has arrived. That's what it means. Now, once this star fell, and once the 5 senses come under the control of the ego, okay, and this is what it means, how then are the 5 senses returned back up into the higher realm? There must be the sacrifice of the 5 senses. You've got to give the 5 senses up. You do that by taking no thought. But let me show you how the Bible described it. Jesus comes along, and what happens? He takes the 5 wounds, doesn't he? His hands, 2, his feet, 2, and his side, bang, 5 wounds. And as soon as he takes that 5th wound, he becomes the Christ. He then ascends spiritually, and the 5 senses are returned to God. They fell with Lucifer to Satan. They return to the higher place with God. When the flesh is sacrificed, then the Christ consciousness ascends. That's exactly what the mission is for you. You see, all of this happened where? It happened in Golgotha. Golgotha means skull, which means it's consciousness. People say, oh, he doesn't believe it really happened. It doesn't make any difference. The point is, does it happen now? Does it happen for you? How can you make this? I mean, do you want to spend your life going listening to preachers? Do you want to spend your life reading the Bible, half of which you can't relate to anyhow, 3/4 of which you can't relate to? Or do you want to now spend your life being a participant in God's universe and touching Him within you? That's the difference. If so, then those 5 wounds must be taken spiritually as Christ, rising with Him into the higher consciousness above human thought, in the skull, Golgotha, okay? Let me show you how the 5 wounds are acted out in your body. It happens to everybody. The whole message is the changing of the 5 senses of the ego into one, into a oneness with God, right? Well, let me show you how this happens. When you're born, and you can ask any good chiropractor this, when you're born, you have 33 vertebrae. But between the age of 1 and 6, there are 5 vertebrae at the base of your spine area, which fuse into one, and they become the foundation on which you stand. It happens. It happened to you. A miraculous thing happened, or not miraculous, that's a bad word, a natural thing happened to also show you, just as the sun in the sky does, what happens with Lucifer, what happens with Jesus, what happens with the 5 changing into one. Between the age of 1 and 6, the 5 bottom vertebrae in your spine fuse together and become one. The 5 changes into one, and that becomes the foundation upon which you stand. And do you know what they call that place in your spine? The sacrum. You know what it means? It means the sacred place, the holy place. And the reason they call it the sacred place or the holy place is because the 5 has come into being one. And that becomes your foundation. That becomes the entire foundation of Scripture. That becomes the foundation of the fall of man when the 5 are taken over by the ego. Becomes the foundation of the resurrection of man when the 5 are given back through meditation and you rise up into Christ consciousness. That's what it's about. That's what happens. That's what the whole Bible is about.